Hey, my favorite people. What's up? It's Asada. You know your girl's here for her podcast. Asada says, ooh, today, this upbeat music, but y'all better get ready for today because it's about fear and secrets. And I'm going to be joined by my girl, Alicia Perry, rocking this topic with me. But before we start, I need to give props to the female solution. If you don't know what it is, you're going to know what it is right now because guess what? Without the female solution, I wouldn't even be here. Thank you, Naima Latif. Y'all stay tuned. Don't go nowhere because we're coming back with the flavor. See what the female solution is, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the female solution.
Yes, yes. Let's get it rolling, baby. Let's get it rolling. So, thank you for being here again. We rocking with the Asada Says show, and today going in the theme of, April is Child Abuse Awareness Month. I be saying Child Abuse Prevention Month. I'm just putting it all together. But my concept, love don't hurt, because I really need us to understand that love does not hurt. We say we do things because we love, potentially, well, I should say particularly our children. Like I spanked him because I loved him, or that's psychotic. Stop it. I've said in my workshops to people, look, can I smack you out of love right now? Like, gotta do that? And they look at me like I'm crazy. That's right, because it doesn't make sense. So love don't hurt. And today we're dealing with fear and secrets, baby, because we got to confront it. And I'm bringing on to the stage my girl, Alicia Perry, baby. Oh, Alicia, I just love having you as my co-host. Yay. Hercules, Hercules. What's
Good morning, Asada. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, not a no. And the reason why she's here with me, guys, I don't know if you've seen the other shows, but my girl, let me put up her title so you can understand what I'm dealing with. Look at the bottom. Certified trauma specialist. And I think it's important that especially for this show, Ma, that we talk about who you are and why you're so relevant. Because when we talk about fear and secrets, that borders the handling and the dealing with molestation, period, point blank. I don't care what nobody say. And that is so rampant in the Black community. Like we got to look at that. But today in particular, why is this so specifically connected to what you do professionally?
Specifically because I work with perpetrators that have sexually assaulted. And most people say, I don't go around as a banner saying, hey, this is what I do, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not ashamed of what I do because I work in purpose, right? And
Mm-hmm.
working in purpose, understanding that I have an assignment to help correct conditions to change the very things that we fear, right? The
Mm-hmm.
very secrets that we keep within our families, our households. So I work in purpose to help correct the thinking, the mindset, and the ideals. I wanted to quickly give a quick definition of fear. Fear is a distressing emotion aroused by impending danger, evil, pain, whether the threat is real or imagined, the feeling or condition of being afraid, right? So I think society wise, we normalize fear, right? And it is real, right? But if we start to look at it from a different way in terms of why is fear real? Why are secrets there based on the fear, right? It's surrounded, as you and I were discussing before we jumped in this morning, the guilt and the shame associated with fear, right? That leads to the secrets. More so when um, men and women have been sexually assaulted, there goes a level of fear and shame and guilt associated with that. when I first started in this profession, research stated that African American women are the most underreported in terms of sexual assaults. Why is that? Again, goes back to what you and I were discussing. The undertone of it is because in some way women do something, or even children or and boys, right, do something that elicits them to be sexually assaulted. And so my primary responsibility is to help the perpetrator understand their perception about what they are reporting and in denial of.
Okay. Got you.
And
Got
it's very intrinsic work because of the societal. Again, let's look at slavery.
you.
Let's look at how alcohol was introduced to us, right?
Yeah.
In order for the master to take advantage of the male and the female,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the impacts of that under the guise of love don't hurt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's carried through systemically. And when we talk to the perpetrators of sexual assault, their denial is so glaring. It's
Wow.
it's glaring, and it's one of the struggles that I've had to learn to manage being a clinician, understanding because when they start treatment with me, right, I'm on the hey, you're here based on this, and so I need you to come forward
Okay.
today, your first day of treatment, and discuss like what you've done. And so I've had to learn as a clinician, right,
Okay.
that doesn't happen that way for some. and
Mm-hmm.
and those are the participants that actually build my muscle of tolerance,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Got you.
Understanding that they require more work because of the intrinsic thoughts of this is okay because I've seen it, I've experienced it, it's carried through the spirit. And so just understanding that particular dynamic in someone's minds, but also for the perpetrator, there's also a fear of being revealed.
Yes. Got you.
Yes.
Got you. Big time. Let me tell you what I want to do. Listeners, viewers, what I want to do is I want us to not make like this is not us.
Mhm,
I want us to stop or not front like this is not close to home.
mhm,
And I want to say that because I'm just from my own experience, when you're young and you got an adult that is encroaching upon the life of a young person, one of the main things they say to you is do not tell. Don't tell your mother. Don't tell your grandmother, right? They say don't tell. And so you're a little child listening to an adult saying to telling you don't tell. And then some people really get threatened. I didn't get threatened, like not like that. But it was like they say don't tell or else I'm gonna do this to you or else this is gonna happen to you. And so the younger person keeps it in and they don't tell. That does something.
mhm,
Unfortunately, for some, thank God it did not happen for me this way, meaning I was not abused to the point of any kind of injury. You understand me? I was 5 years old. You understand? But what it did was it made me aware of things too early in life. I
mhm,
should not have known anything sexual at no 5 years old.
mhm,
And how it ended up impacting me was I remember being in kindergarten asking other 5-year olds what they knew about the topic.
mhm,
And not only asking them what they knew about the topic, but then asking them to do the things. Let's explore and do the things. And so it made me aware of sexual topics too early. And if I know it that early, that means that as I'm getting older, guess what? look, I ain't in kindergarten no more. Now I gotta get engaged. Let me see what's up with that. So the promiscuity, too much, too much. The awareness of that topic, too much. And I'm not going to go into some of the stories that I then took on myself to like be in that world. But there's so many sides to this, yo. It's so many sides to this. This love don't hurt, this fear and secrets. Because the secret that I kept to not tell, it got revealed later in life and once that person was dead. Now what we going to do with it? Because what it did was it made me do things in the first grade, in the fourth grade, that were things that shouldn't have happened. Writing uh, pornographic notes in the first grade. You know why? Because in the first grade, you really learn how to write sentences. So I had some sentences for your butt, and they were saying things that our first graders shouldn't say, right? And so you got that. You got fourth grade. Like, so the bottom and the top line is that this whole secret thing, it began to be revealed. Now, here's the part: adults, you need to watch the signs and you need to listen, because once it got found out that I wrote those things, it should have been said, like, somebody should have said, why does she know that? Why does that little girl know those things? Why? Like, that should have triggered somebody to say, to do a little research on why a child that's not even 10 years old knows those things. And so if you've been told to keep secrets, you could put in the chat, hey, whatever you want. Y'all can comment, y'all can reach in and talk about better ways to handle them. Because when you look at, we want to look at the solutions. In the second half, we'll look more at the solutions to this, and the solutions to taking care of one, the solution to maybe reaching out to you for therapy services. But the fear and secrets that we harbor create other behavior patterns, guys. It
Mhm.
is so important not to do that, and to not be afraid, because sometimes people get their lives threatened. They get their lives threatened. So I guess a question I would have for you, Alicia, is, in your work, or have you come across, when you say they have glaring, uh I don't know if they have glaring revelations to you, or what's glaring to you about what gets exposed to you?
What's glaring for me is that the population that I serve, the majority of them have been sexually assaulted themselves.
Absolutely. I need you to say that one more time. Please tell the people who your population you serve is, but then say what you just said one more again.
The glaring concern is that a lot of them have been sexually assaulted themselves. And because I work with all males, then men carry trauma a
Mhm.
lot different than women do, right? And
Mhm.
so imagine, and statistically, research shows that because one sexually assaults, or I'm sorry, because one has been sexually assaulted, does not mean that they will sexually assault. But what
Mhm.
I find is there's so many men that have been sexually assaulted and they're afraid from, as you stated, 3, 4, 5 years old to share. And then when they're in a group setting, there's still a shame associated with being sexually assaulted. And because of the way that I ask questions and facilitate groups, then I'm more of a prior, but in a gentle way,
Okay.
because I'm detecting, because again, I'm in purpose doing this work, and I'm
Mhm.
detecting that there is some underlying secret
Mhm.
that they're holding close in.
Mhm.
And so what I find is when the men have the breakthroughs to finally be able to share
Yeah.
that they themselves were sexually assaulted, it's when I ask them, well, how do you feel now? The response is always relieved.
Yes. No, for real. This is the healing part, you guys. The healing begins when we confront. In Scientology, we have, definitions of words that have the same definitions that we look up, but particularly the word confront means to be able to look at without wanting to run away.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so to be able to confront what has occurred, not and the other thing that's so deep about what you're saying is that in Scientology, we look at not they said we don't care what you've done.
Mhm.
We want to know what's been done to you,
Mhm. Mhm.
because that's where you get to the root of why the aberrated behavior occurred.
Sure.
Why are they behaving in this way that's not sequitur or in line or sane, but it usually has something to do with what happened to them. And I think, the movie I love so much is Antoine Fisher.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, I love that movie, Antoine Fisher, because of, I think, the brothers dealing with the fact that he was molested. Um, he didn't, and the fact that he was able to communicate with Denzel in that movie about being that and being a man. But look at how it turned out, yo. Look at what it did to the person inside and the anger. And I'm telling you right now, this sexual abuse, this molestation is rampant in the Black community, and we have to confront it, because why do we have such dysfunctional relationships, yo? We
Well,
have
it's
dysfunction.
systemic. It's definitely
Yeah.
systemic. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
systemic.
Yeah.
Um, and it's predicated on that whole ideal of I can do what I want, and
Mm-hmm.
you better not, as you stated
Mm-hmm.
earlier,
Mm-hmm.
you better not say the threat,
Yeah.
even if it's implied, right? It's still real to a child.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. You have to, and I think, it's such a sickness, yo. It's such a sickness that we don't have control in that area, and that control makes us do things to harm younger people in such a manner and make them feel like they shouldn't tell. My friend the other day, we were talking about this, and she was saying how when she was little, when something happened to her, oh, she went and told, baby. She went and exclaimed it to so and so tried to touch me. Uncle so and so tried to touch me, to where, that's just not the norm,
Hmm.
but it would stop things in its tracks from being that. And I remember being young. Oh man, look at that. I ain't gonna cry though, because I'm used to it. I'm used to this topic. But I remember being like 4 years old. It was before the actual other incident I mentioned. And I remember being babysat by someone. He was my like a boyfriend to my mom or something. Cool, whatever. Until he said he would babysit, and my mother went to wherever she went. But baby, the dude said to me, I didn't know because I'm 4. So he said to me, "It's time to bathe you," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I wanted to stay up late to watch a show or something. Might have been past 8, but homie was like, "I'll let you stay up if you let me bathe you." And I was like,
Hmm.
"I don't care, sure." Like I didn't know what bathe was. I didn't correlate it to taking a bath. But
Hmm.
baby, when it got to that point, and I was being instructed to take off them, I'm talking about the crying was unstoppable. I was crying, screaming. He didn't even touch me. But when my mother got home, I was still crying and screaming.
Hmm.
It was the type of crying and screaming that made my mother like, "What's happening? Why is she like that? Why is she?" And how do you explain that away? And I think I had to explain. He wanted me to the. Oh, we don't even want to say what ended up happening to old boy. And my mother's uncle was there too. So I'm just saying, "What's up, yo? What we doing?" And I remember him though saying, "Don't tell, like don't." It was too late. I didn't tell, but I sure did cry, and you had to control it, and it couldn't be controlled. So, would you say that in your life you remember any moment where you were encouraged to not disclose what you were experiencing?
No, no, and the reason I can stand and say that firmly because my parents gave me a voice very young. I remember my mother sharing with me. I had a great uncle, was my father's uncle, and my mother often spoke about, and this was when I was about or 11. When I was a baby, I had these really fat cheeks, right?
Okay.
And when we would go visit my great uncle and his wife at the time, my mother said he would always just gloat about my cheeks.
Mm-hmm.
And she said one day he bit my cheek so hard that he left his teeth impression in my face. And my mom said she cursed him out back and forth, up and down the street. And she said, and that was the end of us going over there to visit because she felt like that was his way of engaging with me inappropriately. And it made her very uncomfortable. She was a young mom. And in the caveat, I want to go back to something you said earlier. Understanding that you yourself have experienced trauma, right? We never want to normalize trauma as
Right.
it's okay.
Right.
I always want to create a safe space for anyone that shares anything with me.
Mm-hmm.
When they tell things, because this is a secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you've had to manage, even though you've worked through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's never an excuse, and we need to grow away from minimizing traumatic experiences, as we
Yes.
spoke about in earlier shows, the ACEs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the very things that impact our core belief system and how we perceive the world and others.
Absolutely.
I definitely want to thank you for being brave.
Mm.
Thank you for finding your voice, but also thank you for sharing, right, how your experience led you to some promiscuous behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when we look at that together, right, looking at why do we see some boys and girls engage in sexual assault so very young? And it's because they've been exposed.
Yes.
I have a client a few months ago that shared with me that her daughter went to visit his father, her father, and some other cousins in a home.
Mm-hmm.
And the cousin went to school engaging in the very same types of behaviors that you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And the cousin reported that my client's daughter actually perpetrated the behaviors, which in fact we later learned that that was untrue.
Okay.
And what ended up happening was there was no insight on if the school actually contacted the DCFS hotline, because we want to make the DCFS hotline our friend. They're
Mm.
there to protect the children from abuse and
Yeah.
neglect
Yeah.
situations. But we have this mindset of I don't want to invite them in my home because of what that may mean for me and my child. But if you aren't able to safeguard your child from harm,
Mm-hmm.
then you either need to learn some services and engage in services, right? Or you need not to have your children. But the unfortunate part is that children are shuffled into the system, and
Mm-hmm.
by being shuffled into the system, they could possibly be placed in other unhealthy homes.
Yeah. Wow. That's true.
Yeah.
Very true. Extremely true. And as a culture, this hush, hush, hush,
Hmm.
this keep the dirty laundry in the what happens in the family stays here. Don't discuss what happens in our home, baby. Yo, it manifests into so many unfortunate forms of non-evolution.
Correct.
People don't evolve, yo.
Or they do, but in unhealthy ways.
Which end up not being real evolution. It's
Correct.
like it's stuck
Hmm.
in that space where they create harm.
Hmm. Hmm.
And unfortunately, this whole book, Beating Black Kids, that I wrote, um man, there are stories in there. This book, I didn't bring up an image of it, but I got it. But the thing about Beating Black Kids is it's some stories in here. Like this one sister that has a story in here. I will not reveal who she is. But she talks about how her getting beat started to make her feel like, I think it's in the chapter called Reactions. And it started to make her feel like her body wasn't hers.
Mm.
And she said she used to just look at the welts and the shapes of the welts and
Mm.
that were created by the beatings. But then it also began, as she got older, she said it turned into promiscuity because she felt like her body wasn't hers.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
felt like her body could just be used, and that people, she didn't have control over it. And so, this is this not being clear, not being open about what we're experiencing is shaping us in the wrong way, people. you know I find a fine line between hitting our children, like spanking and beating or whatever. People don't like they like to make a distinction, like, oh, spanking is different than hitting, tap tap. No, the body is experiencing pain the same way. And I feel like that molestation is so close to that. It's so close. If you can harm a body, touch it, create harm in it, bruise it, it is just so close to being violated. And that's what beating really is. It's being violated
Mhm.
by an
Mhm.
adult to a child, and it is just a different form of a similar abuse. And so, adults don't have to tell us. They don't tell us, don't tell people I spank you. They almost herald it. They want to shout it out that they spank kids. But
Mhm.
you really shouldn't be taking that stance. We're very skewed in the area. And I just want us to really today confront the fact that, do you have secrets in your family? And I'm not talking about, I mean, they almost always are the same things, whether it's somebody, your mama hitting your daddy hitting you, your daddy hit your mom, vice versa. I was sexually abused by my uncle. Like, so the secrets almost always are the same topic. Like, we don't have a family speaking like secret, like, oh, he steals gum. No, it's always a secret about some doggone sexual abuse or molestation. And so I want us, there's some of us though that are very traumatized. And I do want us to, as viewers, I want you to know that there are solutions. I'm going to put your number at the bottom
Sure.
because y'all can rock with some therapy. Therapy is not small. There are people that go to therapy and take it very seriously. I mean, I think in one of the shows, didn't you say that you were rocking with therapy early on in life?
Absolutely. My mother started me in therapy when I was 10 years old, based on what I witnessed in the home with my parents, the domestic violence, right? And then she did for me what she couldn't do for herself. And look at where I am now. I'm a clinician and I still have therapy, right?
Mhm.
Because working in purpose means that I'm carrying others, but I've been equipped to carry the things of others, right? But then I also have to go and lay my things down because I do have my own life. And the blessing about that is, you know, understanding and being compassionate with people, because people carry so much in the heart, right? And one of the things I teach my clients, right? So if your heart is full, then how can you live freely?
Mm.
How can you live without fear and secrets? If your heart doesn't feel safe,
Mhm.
right? And that starts within.
Yeah.
And so if my heart isn't safe, how can I live a life that's full, right? With no secrets.
Mm.
We've been so conditioned to believe that if you keep it a secret, right, it's okay. But then if we look at ourselves like a suitcase or a garbage can, right? Liking it, or a bag, a backpack, right? Every time we throw garbage away, right, we're compressing it on, right? Compressing it on. At some point in time, we have to take the bag out, right? And start all over. So we
Mm.
start to look at ourselves in the manner of, okay, my garbage can, my backpack is full. Let me go ahead and empty it out, right? If
Mhm.
we make this a cycle of
Mhm.
emptying ourselves, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Ridding ourselves of the things that pain us, out of the fear and the secrets, right? Moving away from the guilt and the shame associated with it. Because one thing, right? if we sit up and we talk with someone, because I know people do this, adults and children are indoctrinated with this
Yeah.
whole dozen thing.
Mm-hmm.
10 dozens. Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my God. I so dislike that. I didn't grow up that way. But
yeah.
I
Okay.
know my parents grew up that way. And probably because they grew up that way, I made a different choice. Hey, I don't want to engage in those behaviors of name calling and making fun of your mama. You know how they make those your mama
Yeah.
jokes and things
Yeah.
like that. All of that is an indoctrination of unhealthy behaviors. And then you never know how you're affecting someone else from a trauma perspective because their mom or their dad may be those things that you're saying.
Wow. True that. And the layers, yo. This is like generational.
It
This is
is.
so generational. Like it's not even a joke how generational it is.
Mhm.
And the fact that, from slavery even, there hasn't been a moment's pause to heal as a people.
At
Hasn't
all.
been a moment's pause. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but
Sure.
when we come back, we're going to look at some more these examples of fear, secrets, but then we're also going to look at some solutions because we're not going to just talk about this and not have ways to help you make decisions around the healing. And sometimes it's talking to a therapist and sometimes it's writing it down, getting
Yeah.
it out, baby. So let's
Yeah.
just go to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back after these messages. See you in a minute.
Yeah.
Great day. It's your girl Asada here to introduce a new female solution show called Asada Says. That's right. Every month we're going to talk about everything I am, from cryptocurrency and financial security to good health and parenting strategies. Come on and talk with me every Tuesday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And let's do that thing the way Asada says it should be done. See you then. Peace right here on the Female Solution.
When you see Black children misbehaving in public, being loud, disrespectful, and destructive, do you think to yourself, what they need is a good beating? That's what's wrong with these parents. They don't know how to discipline their children. Were you disciplined in that way? And did your parents also call you stupid, ignorant, and lazy? That's the way you break a slave. You terrorize them with constant fear of painful punishment. We were broken by parents who were broken, by parents who were broken. It's time to end the cycle of brokenness and bring healing to ourselves and our communities by using knowledge, respect, and love. We'll show you how. I'm Naima Latif. Get the book Slavery, The African American Psychic Trauma. On sale now. Go to www.naimalatif.com.
Ooh, wee, 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 wee. There we have it, girls and boys. Next week, that's going to be our guest, Naima Latif, to talk about her book and looking at how slavery has played a role. This whole series that I'm doing for April, which is, like I said, Child Abuse Awareness Month, is Love Don't Hurt. And see this right here? Look at this right here. You see this right here? Let me move myself to the side somewhere else where you can see this. See, I really want us to take on a consciousness that love doesn't hurt. We have a really psychotic viewpoint about showing our love through hurt, through pain, but it does come from somewhere. And so today we're dealing with a topic of fear and secrets in this whole Love Don't Hurt campaign, this whole Love Don't Hurt movement. You literally, I'm going to put the website at the bottom so that you can see. You can literally join the movement. We have a whole Love Don't Hurt movement. And when you go to the website, you can see how you can be a part. But we basically say, buy if you believe. If you believe love don't hurt, baby, Bob, look, we're not playing with you. Look at these brothers. What we doing? Look at them brothers. That's right. What we doing, baby? Look at them brothers. And people have literally started to support. We got my girl, Ronnie Darcy. Look at that. She got her Love Don't Hurt cup, mug, shirt. We got my girl, Yana B, that I went to high school with. Got her Love Don't Hurt candle. Got her Love Don't Hurt shirt. Look, my girl Vanessa said she wore her shirt and she was looking cute. I was like, man, why you ain't show me? Why you didn't send me that? So anyway, it's a real thing out here, and I'm very happy that we at least, it's a beginning. It's a beginning of one saying and exclaiming that no, get this message out. Love does not hurt, and we have to stop doing that. So I'm gonna bring my girl Alicia Perry back on the stage. Hey, my mom, what's up? Thank
Hey,
you so much for being here and for having this conversation with me about, what you do, how we have to just deal with fear and secrets in our world, particularly as a culture. I know that it happens all around the world, guy. I even know where it comes from. I'm gonna leave that alone right now because I just want to deal with the fact that we have to improve our own behavior, guys and girls. We have to improve our own behavior and handle that fear and handle the secrets and not keep them. I have literally been in a car with a family and watched a child be told by a parent, we don't tell what happens in our house.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
What?
mm-hmm,
And I saw that look on her face.
mm-hmm,
He didn't have to threaten her because I could see it in her face.
mm-hmm,
I don't think he would hurt her per se, but it was very clear. She was little. She was like a 4-year-old child as well.
mm-hmm,
But this whole fear that we create, I need us to confront the fact that fear as an emotion shouldn't even be in your house. Like it could be fears outside, but when you come home, there shouldn't be fear there. Some people like to say fear God. Don't nobody fear God. I revel in God, right?
because God has not given us the spirit of fear.
Right.
Mm-hmm,
Right.
mm-hmm,
Stop distorting fear, guys. Stop
mm-hmm.
it.
Based on what
Stop it.
someone else gave us.
That's right. You
Mm-hmm,
feel me? And
mm-hmm,
then, we like to kind of say respect and fear and love and fear. And we have to really look at what it is and
mm-hmm,
confront it for what it creates. Horror films make you fearful.
mm-hmm,
They're intended to do that.
mm-hmm,
That should not be an intention. We don't want to instill. We say stuff like instilling fear in our children.
mm-hmm.
That's the memory you want of yourself and your child? Are you for
To
real?
break the child.
To break them, right?
Mm-hmm,
Didn't you just hear that sister talk about broken parents
mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm,
came from broken parents,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
And so the fear part is the part that keeps us from progressing because we won't tell.
mm-hmm,
There go those secrets. This is the only reason you keep a secret is because of your fear of what will result if you say something,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And so I want us as a community to don't worry when the family tries to make you. I've seen a mother, wonderful mother, great mother. Her teenager was my student, and she wanted to be the whistleblower on the family members that were molesting the children.
Mm,
And do you know they had her committed so that she
mm.
had to get mandated medicated? She had to take medication, and they deemed her insane because she was making accusations on the family.
Which
And
was true.
which were true things. And I'm telling you, her daughter, she was awesome. Her daughter was angry all the time,
Mm-hmm,
always angry as a teenager. Never to get her to smile was a thing, and I can make people smile easy, but she was always angry. But it's probably because of what she was experiencing.
mm.
And so, what do you think is a way that people can feel courageous enough, an outlet to feel courageous enough to say something or somewhere to reach out to so that they can say something and change actually be made?
So, a way for anyone to feel courageous, I think first of all, I think we're born with courage, right?
Okay. Hmm.
I think we're born with it from the perspective of we have all the tools we need within.
Hmm.
But we also have to be encouraged to utilize those tools, like you stated, right, within our homes instead
Hmm.
of not having a discussion or cowering down, right?
Hmm.
Um, not succumbing to the breaking, the spirit breaking, right?
Hmm.
So we have to learn that it's okay to empower our children and for us to be empowered to say the very things that other people are fearful of saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Having outlets, because it's one thing if we sit, even like what we're doing, right? We're sitting, we're having a podcast, to get the word out, but
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be normalized that courage is an innate thing that we have all been given, and it's okay to speak your truth,
Mm.
right? What
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to do is get into the habit of, because what I also see is we have a habit of speaking mistruths,
Mm.
and the
Good.
mistruths lead to mass incarceration as well.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So we have to get into the habit of encouraging truth first, right?
Nice. Yeah.
Debunking fear, right? Giving the child a respectful voice, but that's taught during parenting. So thinking if the child sees you or is exposed to something that's inappropriate, because it starts in the home, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so giving the child a voice to understand what's proper and what's not proper. But because so many households have a twist of nuance of truth or what
Mm-hmm.
they deem is the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what they deem as normal, right? Because what is normal? I always challenge that. Like, what is normal? If you grew up understanding that we only took one bath a day, right? And sex abuse for you to go in and get in the bed because Uncle Tom is coming over and this is what you have to do, right? In your mind, that's the normal, even though it physically doesn't feel
Right.
correct, right? So we have to get into habits of having these conversations with our children early on and say, hey, if someone touches you inappropriately, you need to share that immediately, no matter if they're there or not. Um,
Yes.
if someone says something inappropriate to you to hurt your feelings, we need to empower our children to say what happened, not to
Mm-hmm.
make up something,
Yeah.
right? So it's encouraging and empowering um, truths, right, from a place of pain, so we don't have to keep having these secrets. Um,
Yeah.
Forcing our book bags to be overflowing, right? I
Mhm.
love Erica Badu's Bag Lady, right? Because we carry so many bags,
Yeah.
men
Yeah.
and women, in our
Yeah.
culture, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so that's where I would say, like, starting off early on with understanding that not breaking a child's spirit, that's not a good thing. But we can
Yeah.
also rear our children and help them understand if this happens, there are consequences. And
Mm-hmm.
not that I'm gonna beat you, right? Let's sit down and talk about why you made these choices.
Sure. Sure.
An empowerment and an encouragement. And then, seeking outside entities to help you manifest what you want to see in your
Mm.
home, right?
Yeah. That's the big part. That's the part I'm a little concerned about. Because even when we talked today and we looked at, well, what are the services out there that really help people? I don't really know. I can't say that I sat down and called them all, but
True.
like I don't know who on the other end of that line, and I don't know what they experience, and I don't know if they're going to give advice that's going to really help people. I'm not too sure. What I do want to say is, young people, don't worry about this whole. See, a lot of times people don't say things. Don't worry about incriminating your parents. A lot of kids don't want to say things because they don't want to incriminate the parent, right? Because then that can potentially create a situation where the parent gets taken away. And
Mhm,
that's all they know, even though it's harmful. And they don't, and having that fear of the unknown, they rather sit with what they know, the pain,
mhm,
than to be left into the unknown without the parent. Maybe they're in jail, maybe. And I think the idea of that makes our children not say anything and not tell on a person, and we have to fix that. And I think it's going to have to start with us parents making decisions that are better, that create a better environment. so that children don't feel afraid of us, so that they aren't afraid of the truth and that they suppress the truth. The only person that can really fix this, in my opinion, right now, yeah, you got to reach out to somebody and call somebody, but no, parent, change your behavior. Like, just check it. One time I was in a workshop and I had a list of 101 ways to treat your, say good things or do good things to your children. And I literally had a woman start to cry reading it. And when we looked at why are you crying, she was like, because none of this has ever happened to me. Like, she was like, I don't know how to do this. And she felt that it was just so foreign to her to show love and appreciation to her child, because love and appreciation was never shown to her. But parents, this is some of the solution. I want to bring this up because I've brought it up before. My parental code of ethics, because it does sort of look at some of the things that we can do to be, and I'm gonna move us to the side so we can see it. And you guys increase the size of your screen or whatever you need to do so that you can look at the points. I've read a few here, a few there, but I love this line here. Look at this. I will influence my child's pleasing memory. Now, let me change that. Hold up. I will influence my child with pleasing memories of our relationship, filled with conversation held together and shared discoveries. What? Like, to really control the memories that we are utilizing, that we're creating in them, and we're making sure that those memories have us talking to them, have us discovering things together. Look up at the sun. Ooh, look at that moon. Oh, look at this ladybug, whatever, right? Might seem soft, but that's what we need to be, a little softer in our approach with dealing with them. Stop screaming at people. Stop creating obedient children. You make dogs obedient, right? And then here's another one here. It says, I will work to have good, safe control over my child's surroundings and not control over his or her mind and decisions. Good, safe control means, let me tell you what that means to me. That means, let me tell, as a mom, my daughter's 22 now, but as a mom, it was very important to me to not have men around my daughter. I'm not going to have boyfriends and all of that because I could wait. I've had enough life of that, right? But I needed her to be surrounded by solace between us, care, happiness, those things, those memories that I wanted to create, and not be watching me and a man doing things, not watching like, nah, money. So I controlled myself so that I can have a better controlled environment for her and let her growing up. It wasn't balanced to me because it wasn't, I'm a single mother, so it wasn't a mother and a father, but I definitely created an environment that kept her happy as I could keep her, so that her memories would be intact, so that her knowledge of the world would be intact, and not full of my aberration. We fill our kids up with our aberrations, our fears, our, don't touch that. Come away from that. Like, it's so many levels. I want to show something before we leave, because my book Beating Black Kids covers so much in just confronting what we're doing, and it's not accusatory, it's not punitive, but it does say there's some other things we can do if we want to rear our children. So let's just take a look at this video, y'all, and say a few words thereafter.
I got spanked and I turned out fine. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Kids today need to be beat. What else am I supposed to do? He's so bad. Ooh, she gets on my last nerve. Better hush up before I give you something to cry about. It was important that I write the book, Beating Black Kids.
I'm old-fashioned, and I believe, you just can't let a child do anything.
I think it's okay, long you don't abuse them.
It's needed to a certain point.
But what I saw was a collection of adults who were talking about a topic they had never really talked about before. And out came My mama used to hit me with a spatula. My dad used to hit me with a belt. They used to make me get wet first. They used to put my face in a pillow and then spank me. Like all of these different stories about how we have gotten beaten over time. And while there was a lot of laughter when those stories were being told, I could clearly see that there's a fine line between laughing and crying. And I knew that it was time for me to write a book about handling the situation. And so it's very obvious that this came from being a slave, from a slavery experience. And that whole spare the rod, spoil the child. The shepherd did not beat the sheep with the rod. He guided them with the rod. And so it is just obvious that that came from a slavery experience. And we have to know how to differentiate those things and then just use some discernment in terms of doing what's best for our children and not breaking their spirits. With regards to how we discipline our children, first of all, I always tell people that discipline, if you look at the etymology of the word, it comes from disciplina, which is the Latin root meaning teach. And so when you discipline a child, you are teaching them. But when you use corporal punishment and you hit our children, you're not teaching them anything. They're actually not going to do it again out of fear. They're not doing it out of reason. The frustration that we feel from being powerless in a society and all of the things that come along with that, those issues are not to be taken out on our children when we get home. The definition of domestic violence says bringing harm to someone in your home or hurting someone in your home. So I want us to look at how we beat our offspring and how that's not giving them anything good. It's making them quote unquote obedient, but that's what you make a dog, that's what you make an animal. But when you're dealing with someone of higher intelligence, use their intelligence and start to talk to them in ways that give them power, make them feel supported, listen to their ideas, and it'll just be an easier parenting road for you. There's a part of the brain called the regulatory part of the brain, and that's the part of the brain that helps you make decisions in times of adversity. Well, if they have that toxic stress before they even fall, that part of the brain does not develop. And so you're looking at a community full of people with no regulatory equipment. So we need to be bringing a different generation of people up with a different consciousness. Make sure that the kids feel good and alive while they're living. Don't be upset after they die and after there's all these senseless killings. Let's treat them well while they're living, and then we'll see a different impact. The adults want to be upset, but you taught the children the violence when they were young, and it's the tools they have. I feel like, hitting children is such a skillless. We need to foster behavior that builds them up and that just changes the way, like we talk to each other, talk to your discipline child. Because discipline, we're using it a lot to describe hitting children, and this is not directly to you, LaShawn, but it's to just all of us because I've heard it and it's personally, and discipline. My book is sold in Switzerland, Germany, Tasmania, Nigeria, Sudan, Canada, all over the world. And so people all over the world are telling me, as far as Germany, that my book is making a difference in the lives of the people that other people touch, but also in the lives of many parents and families who now no longer beat their children because they read my book. A lot of people ask me if I'm going to write another book, and I'm not ready to write another book, but what I will say is that there is a high demand for the book in Spanish and in French. My book is not punitive, my book is not accusatory, but there are solutions replete throughout the whole book. It really is just about being engaged with your child. They're not going to become respectful and trustworthy through you telling them and demanding it. They're going to become that way from observing you and then emulating what they see. And so in my parental code of ethics that I wrote, one of my favorite lines is, I will only seek excellence in my child if I am excellent myself. And so that's what I say is the number one key to making sure you have great children is checking yourself.
Wow. I never tire of watching that because I always see things that are important. One word that I didn't say, but that jumped out at me was to talk about in our last few whatever minutes is taboo. It's so taboo to talk about this topic. It's so taboo to reveal what you've experienced. And some of us are way grown. We way grown, but we still are a little reluctant to discuss this topic. We got a comment here I want to bring up. My girl Naima Latif said, when a child is showing signs that they have been exposed to sexual behavior, parents need to ask questions, not in an accusatory way, but in a calm, non threatening way, so they can discover who in the family may be a molester. To the 10th degree, Naima, right? I think what's upsetting is that when the parent is protecting the molester.
And
And that's why they're not saying nothing.
listen, and that is such a common thing that we see in families and households. And there are so many reasons that it occurs, but it still doesn't make it right, right? It could be for financial reasons, the parents' own fear. There's so many dynamics to this sexual assault and why the abuser is protected. It saddens me though, because one thing, and I heard so many things, we could have this topic forever. But one
Ever
thing
and
I
ever.
did hear this morning that you stated that the parents have to have a willingness to learn, to undo their own rearing, right? They
Mm,
have to be
mm.
open to the conversations about their experiences and how it shaped them, and
Wow.
actually connect to the child and understand how the pains, because the pain doesn't change.
Right.
So
Right.
parents have to do a better job of being open to undoing and learning new ways to engage and really hear their children, right?
Right. That's right.
And not feel like the child is dictating. But if you beat your child and they say that that hurts, or they develop a resentment toward you, you have to be able to hear that you actually did a wrong
Nice.
thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
for sure.
True. And let me tell you, I've had adults come to me saying, my children are big now. What do I do? Because they actually feel sorry for what they created. They
Mhm.
know how much they hit them, they know how much they yelled. And I said, you probably should just go and apologize. Like, just go talk to them and express what you knew or didn't know at the time, and apologize and just get into communication, because those adults, I'm telling you right now, I don't care if they say I turned out fine, they are harboring the experiences of you bringing pain, and that resentment that existed when you were doing it, it's
Mhm.
still there. It didn't go anywhere. They, of course, didn't cast you to the side because you're a parent, but they still have the emotion of resentment, fear, sadness in their souls. And how it's coming out is how they're treating their own children, right? So you have to make a decision as a parent to, like you said, be willing to correct
And what
oneself.
happens is the parent, like you said, the children are some size now, right? And what
Mm-hmm.
happens is now the parent is fearful because they've instilled the fear. But now Tommy is 6 feet 5, and I'm 5 feet, right? And Tommy may knock me on my butt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the reverse of that is it's the same cycle, right? Because when we see the revolt with slavery, right? The master is the perpetrator, and then all of a sudden a revolt occurs, and the slave
Yeah.
person, right,
Mm-hmm.
revolts and attacks the master.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cycle.
That's the
We have
cycle.
to learn how to break that cycle and be willing to apologize in those moments and hear it.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Guys, guess what? The show is over. Lord, look, we could keep on going over
Yes,
and over.
we
But
can.
I,
Yes, we
I
can.
do want to say thank you for being here today. This is such an important topic. We've only scratched the surface. The healing is a lot of healing that needs to take place, but the first step is to get it out of you. Whether you're going to find therapy and talk about it, or, and I'm going to put that therapy number up real quick before we leave, or write it. Start writing it down, y'all. It
And or
might be,
purchase self-help books.
there we go. There we
Mhm.
go. You saw Beating Black Kids and all of that that help you. So just know that there is a solution. We are going to get better. We just have to make a decision to do so. Thank y'all for coming today. See y'all next week where we're going to rock with Naima Latif and talk about the psychic trauma stemming from slavery to what we're doing to our children today. Love y'all guys and peace. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thanks, Alicia, for being here. You the bomb, baby.
Thank you, Asadah. Thanks, my sister, for having me here with you. I appreciate you.
Let's do it. Peace,
All right.
guys.
All right. Take care. Have
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.